Hello everyone and welcome back to Long's Takes. Today I thought I'd do a fun little tier list video here where we're going to be ranking the Saiyan forms. We're going to be sticking to official forms that are made in actual Dragon Ball media, so there's not going to be any of Super Saiyan Full Power 3 Rose stuff from Dragon Ball Heroes or anything. We're going to stick to the main line. I don't know if I'm going to rank the GT forms at all, but we'll see when we get there, but I hope you guys enjoy. Make sure to like and subscribe, and tell me if you agree with my tier list or if I have some bad takes here. Just let me know. Okay. I guess to start off, we got to set some ground rules here. I think the major thing is kind of what I'm actually ranking them by, because just to be putting them without any much justification, I think would be a terrible way to do a tier list. So, the major things here is how the design looks, the designs or the forms function within the story, and I don't really know how to describe this, but the justification and the legitimacy of the form, kind of where it comes from, and then and kind of just was this out of nowhere, or could we have seen some foreshadowing for it, or whatnot. So let's get into it. I might come up with new points later, but where should we start here with all these forms? I think, honestly, we should just start with Super Saiyan. And Super Saiyan is absolutely an S-tier form. I don't know if it's just because so many forms have come after it, but I've seen people downplaying Super Saiyan a whole lot. Of all the forms in the series, regardless of the fact that it's shown up before most of these, it's pretty much one of the most long lasting, and they've found ways to keep it relevant in some degree. Characters especially in the Tournament of Power and stuff, Super Saiyan was what the form that Goku was essentially in when he beat Jiren. It's Kefla uses Super Saiyan, and they found a way to justify it being strong, even though she uses Super Saiyan 2 and the weird green form, but Super Saiyan was still a part of that. I think the conceptual design of just the change in hair and eye color, and especially on Namek, the personality change that came with the original Super Saiyan form, I think was a very, very unique transformation for the time, and maybe even set the groundwork for a lot of later forms that kind of brought out kind of the evil side of characters, or or transformations that change the main character's personality, because there's a whole bunch of those today in the modern landscape of anime and manga. I also do actually really like the mastered forms that show up in the Cell Saga. I think the whole arc of figuring out how to master Super Saiyan forms is really, really cool. Because we won't see another progression of that, where characters are trying to figure out the best way to use a form until we get to Super Saiyan Blue, which I will talk about later. And I actually really appreciate that in Dragon Ball. I'm a fan of that. And I think some people aren't, it seems. But I think that is really cool, the fact that you can get a form and it not be perfect right from the get-go. Has it maybe become overused in Super? And we'll also talk about that later. Maybe, but for now. So Super Saiyan in S tier. Honestly, we can just kind of go linearly and just do the progressing forms. So Super Vegeta. So here's the thing with this form. It has actually a pretty respective amount of build-up, because it's kind of a stepping stone, because essentially all the characters in the Saiyan Saga realize that or not Saiyan Saga, sorry, the Android Saga, and early Cell Saga realize that Super Saiyan isn't going to cut it anymore, and that for whatever reason, instead of trying to make their bases stronger so their Super Saiyan is stronger, they need to find something that's better than Super Saiyan, because it's simply not cutting it anymore. And I think as that, it is very effective, because it's kind of the first thing you would think of as a next level of Super Saiyan. Oh, here's a Super Saiyan transformation that buffs you up, it's stronger, it's like Super Saiyan, but it's really straining your body, really pushing the limits of it. So for that, I think it's really cool. Problem with it is, it's literally in one fight. And the design itself, I think, is kind of gross. I hate the vein bulging in the head thing. I think it's kind of just gross and unappealing as a design. So for now, I'm gonna say C tier, because it's just has no staying power. It's a stepping stone, but it does actually have it has its place as a form. It's not terrible. It's not bad. Maybe it'll end up being low B tier as we keep adding stuff. Now this is a D tier transformation. I think I don't think anyone would really disagree with this. It gets used in like not even a real fight. Trunks gets bullied for using it. Goku calls the transformation trash. I don't even really like the design. I think it's the worst design that we get from Trunks and Z, essentially. I think it's just not appealing, and then like it kind of led to the whole buff man kind of joke of the Dragon Ball series for a long time. So I don't really like it. So let's just straight move on. Super Saiyan 2. Okay. Super Saiyan 2 is, I think a lot of people have the same sentiment for it. It's like really cool with Gohan, not really cool with anyone else. And I think I kind of sit in the middle of these two camps because obviously Gohan going Super Saiyan 2 is awesome. It's a really cool design. It's a really cool moment. There's appropriate justification and build up for it. Gohan has all this potential and stuff. Goku sees that in Gohan, but the only time he's really able to access it is when he finally stops essentially just holding back his emotions and how he feels, because he's kind of just emotionally stunted himself, especially when it comes to letting those emotions out to help other people. And he's kind of put that limitation on himself. And part of it is that like the Super Saiyan form that he had just mastered kind of is in contradiction to that, because it's kind of a calm Super Saiyan form. So it's kind of realizing that like while the calm Super Saiyan form or mastered Super Saiyan, it's called like Super Saiyan full power sometimes, whatever, that form even in itself is imperfect, because you have to kind of use your emotions to really fully effectively use your ki, or especially in Gohan's place. Now, what does that mean for Vegeta and Goku? I do appreciate what I think it's the Daizenshu or another guide says about it. It's like, while Gohan unlocked this through his rage and anger and everything, Vegeta and Goku unlocked it through like really hard training. And I think that's kind of a nice testament to the fact that like, okay, Goku and Vegeta don't have the potential or like this hidden latent potential that Gohan has, but like they're such geniuses of their own hard work that they're able to achieve this form. And for that, I think it's pretty commendable. I have a hard time putting it in S tier because it's a form that gets made. Really, its best moment is the first time it shows up. Like for a lot of these forms, that is also true, but a lot of these forms have at least later moments where they do cool things, like even like Super Saiyan shows up and does cool things in Broly, like Super Vegeta. Oh my gosh, yeah, I just remembered those. Yeah, so Super Saiyan 2, I'm really torn between these two. I would love to hear what you guys think where Super Saiyan 2 goes. So let me know. For now, I'm put on A tier, but if anything else goes in A tier, I might put it above Super Saiyan 2. So Super Saiyan 3. I think this might be like the ultimate B tier transformation. I think it's really fun, the concept of like this form, at least when it like first shows up and during the Kid Buu fight, how it's like there's an inherent time limit for the form, and it has to like ramp up. And it creates those cool moments where Vegeta and Hercule and everybody are trying to stall for Goku, but then what happens is Goku can't use it, which is kind of a shame, I feel. Like all that kind of build up for the form, and it gets like 2 fights, and then Gotenks uses it, and I think it's also kind of underutilized there because it becomes the same mechanic as just fusion detiming, because like he uses it, then he loses Super Saiyan 3, and then he defuses. Like he could have just been Super Gotenks the whole time, or even Super Saiyan 2 Gotenks, and like the story doesn't really change at all. And that's a big part of it. It's like, what does this form do for the story? And I think it does more than Super Vegeta. And I think its design is more interesting than Super Vegeta and less gross than Super Vegeta. So it definitely goes in B tier, but I don't think it has, personally, the same like kind of significance or any like singular like boom moment than Super Saiyan 2 does. And I don't love like the no eyebrows look either. I just so does I think it loses it has design points over Super Saiyan Grade 2, but not quite the same level as Super Saiyan 2. So from here, I guess we can just clean up some of the forms in Z. Kaioken, I actually really like Kaioken. I think as kind of a preliminary transformation, in the Z era, it's super cool. I think the energy changing color is really cool, and it does have like kind of like the muscular, but I think it's done better than Super Vegeta's is. And even though all the cool moments with it is just hearing Goku say a higher multiplier, I still think that's really fun. I think it's really cool. I think honestly, as cool as it is in the Vegeta fight, I think it might be even like more exciting seeing it be used in the fight against Frieza, when it turns out he has been using Kaioken the whole time, and like that moment when it's like, oh, Goku has been using Kaioken, it's like because you've become as like a reader attached to the fact that like, oh, he always has that in his back pocket. He's gonna whip that out, and it's gonna be freaking awesome. But then the Kaioken times 20 moment, I think, is one of the just coolest action set pieces in the series. Maybe set pieces isn't the right word, but you know what I mean. And I like how it got brought back in Super. We'll talk about that form a little bit later. But yeah, I am a very big fan of Kaioken. I don't think it has quite the same maybe design and like legacy impact that Super Saiyan has, because it's gonna be. I don't think. Spoiler. I don't know if anything else is going in S tier, but we'll get to there. Okay, let's see. Great Ape. I mean, this is like the first transformation in the series. It's cool that the Saiyans have it, but I don't think it's getting beyond C tier. It's gonna go above C tier just because of the whole kind of semi-foreshadowing, kind of like sad lore implications that Goku went Great Ape and killed Grandpa Gohan. It's really sad, but I think it's kind of cool. I don't know, but I hate like the fat monkey design. It's very, I mean, it's very old Dragon Ball, and when it shows up in the newer parts of the series, like in the Z series, like it kind of looks a little bit out of place. Vegeta as a Great Ape looks fine, but like Gohan Great Ape and stuff. But again, prefacing this, this is all my personal opinion, of course. I'm trying to find a more objective base for all of my claims, but still that doesn't really always work out. But yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's so different from everything else. I don't love big kaiju forms. Like I preferred Orange Piccolo when he was like just like a bit larger instead of like a giant form, but that's a different video entirely. Let's see, anything else? Super GT, super Ultimate Gohan. I mean, so here's the thing with Ultimate Gohan. Based on what guide you're reading, that's base Gohan, and that the ultimate form is kind of just using the full power of base. These are old guides where it's like he doesn't need to use Super Saiyan and stuff, which I think is just contradicted by how it's used, especially now. Honestly, this can go in B tier. If not just because of how fun it is in Superhero and how, like, I think the aura, like, the kind of obsession that modern Super has with, like, creating really cool auras for characters. And so I like it. It doesn't achieve anything, right? This is another, I think, honestly, a stepping stone transformation, just like Super Vegeta is. It retroactively is a stepping stone transformation for Beast Gohan, but also it's a stepping stone on Goku's character arc, where it's like, wow, even when Gohan has all of his power unlocked, and it's like, wow, an even more full completion of his Super Saiyan 2 Cell Saga character arc as like the true full potential savior of the world, he fails, and and all the responsibility falls back on Goku. So I don't love it for that. Like, it's kind of a waste. But I like the idea of just like essentially it looking like base, but being incredibly powerful with like that strong aura, like that kind of just like pure white aura. I think that's pretty cool. It's a fun unit in Dokkan too. Uh, but I think B is fine. I'm torn between if I like it more than Super Saiyan 3. But I think those are both very B tierish transformations for what they achieve and then what they are design wise. Again, I really want to hear your thoughts down below, because I don't know if my opinions are like completely in the minority or not. Let's see, what can we do next? I'm not gonna rank Super Kaioken. I mean, it's a filler form, and it's literally just Kaioken with Super Saiyan that shows up for like 5 seconds. It's not as cool as either Kaioken or Super Saiyan. Which I think it makes both kind of worse. I don't know. So let's move on. Okay, let's talk about God Goku. I really like God Goku. I might just say the tiers are unordered because I think it's pretty, at this point, it gets a little bit more difficult to be like, this one's specifically over this one because I think they achieve very different things. But design-wise, I love Super Saiyan God. I think the red color with the different, because it changes auras. It has like a blue aura for a little bit. It has like it might have a white aura for a while, I could be wrong, and the red aura, obviously. While I don't think Battle of Gods, the original Battle of Gods movie, I think is pretty great, but like the anime is kind of, but while the story might not be perfect around Super Saiyan God and like the reason why it exists, it's kind of just a justification for how they can get into this new kind of super tier, right? Because this God Goku essentially becomes the benchmark of strength for every single character that follows, and as like kind of like a strength reset of the series, I think it's pretty effective. Did it need that whole lore that this has existed as long as like essentially as long as Super Saiyan has? No. But I love I like the skinny design. I think that's a really unique way to take the Saiyan forms, even though no other form follows up on this. Because essentially the philosophy was always bigger, because like the last form we got was Super Saiyan 3, which was like, and even though Goku's body isn't, but the huge hair and everything. So I think to take it in a completely different direction was really cool. I think the handful of appearances it's made in Super have been really cool. I think everybody loves when Vegeta used it in Broly. I think that was awesome. And Goku, when he used it in Broly too, that part of the fight is one of the best parts with God Bind and everything. So I really like Super Saiyan God. But again, I don't think it's as good as Super Saiyan. If not just because its foreshadowing and lore are just a lot worse. Let's see. We can do Blue. Okay. So Blue is treated a lot differently in the anime and manga. And as this is the anime's picture of it, I think it's B tier. Because literally it's just Super Saiyan stacked on top of Super Saiyan God. And that's pretty much all we get for it. And then it gets used throughout the next whole fucking part of the series. And so for that, it's essentially, lore-wise, it's essentially the same as Super Saiyan God, but they also went blue. And it has more, inherently more moments than God, because it essentially just replaces God as the main form. But I think its design is worse. And like Blue itself doesn't really, like the story is not different because Blue is in it. Like they could have just said God was the form that they're using the whole time in the anime, and the series would not have been structurally different. Like take any other one of these forms, and the story I think is fundamentally different if these forms were changed out for something else. Like if Super Saiyan 2 was still like the main form by the end of the Majin Buu saga, that fight structurally would have been a lot different against Kid Buu. But Super Saiyan 3 changes the dynamics of that fight, and that's kind of what I want to see in a form, is something that changes the fundamental dynamics of the story, or like kind of does something important for the characters. That's why Kaioken is so interesting, because it doesn't function like any of the other forms in the series. It's not being used the whole time. He switches between it and base rapidly, and that's dynamic. That's unique. So yeah, I don't want to spend too much time. We still have a lot more forms to go. Might go a little bit faster here. I don't know how much time I've already spent on this. Okay, so Blue. Oh, and what I was getting to, I'll do Perfected Blue next. I like Perfected Blue more. I might put it in. I don't know. I don't know if I could put it just high B, just like above blue, or maybe low A. But I think the idea that it wasn't just as easy as going Super Saiyan on top of blue to suddenly like just have this form, and that they needed to like figure out how it actually worked, and then began testing its limits, like how Vegeta has his own kind of perfected blue in the manga, and then how Goku tries to use like Kaioken and gets kind of punished for it because he's not thinking outside the box. Essentially, I really like that, and I think it's his fight with Zamasu is actually pretty good. But yeah, maybe this might actually, yeah, somewhere in here, low. So that considers low A. I'm not gonna add any more tiers. I think that's excessive. Okay, what's next? Blue Kaioken. It goes on one side of blue. I think the moment of him, yeah, I'll put it above. I think the moment of him doing on hit is pretty cool. The Spirit Bomb when he does it is pretty cool. And then fighting with Vegeta is also relatively cool. And I like Kaioken a lot. But the problem is that when he uses Blue Kaioken, it's not functioning like old Kaioken. It's just he's just using it continuously, right? If it had functioned like old Kaioken, I'd put it right there, right? But it doesn't, right? It's just a stack on power with pretty much no drawbacks after the first time he uses it, right? So I can't put it higher than this. I think the red and blue aura mixing is cool, so design-wise, I think it's above this. And if nothing else, I think that's why Blue Kaioken would go over blue. Let's see. Rose. Rose goes here too. I think it's just another blue form that I think is cooler than blue. I think the pink purple aura is cooler than just the blue on blue aura. But besides that, I like the idea that it's like, oh, if you have Evil God Key, that's what your blue form looks like. But besides that, I don't think it really achieves. I definitely can't put it in A. Let's see. If not just for the fact that it has like no staying power. Blue Evolution. I hate this form. This is probably one of my least favorite forms in the whole series. I don't know if I can put it in D just because it achieves more than Grade 3 does. Yeah, I think it goes there. I don't know if I want to put it next to or above Super Vegeta, but it's essentially just Super Vegeta again with a. I think that especially a lot of shots, sometimes that sparkling aura I think looks so ugly, and the justification for it is just that Vegeta tries really hard all of a sudden, and then it's like, oh, I have a new form now that's 20 times stronger than blue, and then he never uses it again in the anime. And the only thing I can give this form is that it fights God Topo, and I love God Topo as a character and especially as a design. So that's really the only points it gets from me. I really do not like Evolution. Let's see. Okay, so we got rid of all the God forms. So now we're on to like the God plus forms here. Oh, this form. Again, this is essentially a retread of Super Trunks, at least achieves a little bit more. Again, the mixed aura is at least a little bit better, and it's not as unga bunga big muscles as Grade 3, so it goes a little bit higher, but no explanation. I don't think he even... it's almost a completely different design, the form that he actually uses to kill Zamasu, because he doesn't have the glazed over eyes, he doesn't have the aura while he does it, so I don't even know if that would... I don't remember if that is... Rage, I think it's called, doing that to Zamasu. I don't remember, but yeah, he definitely does not go any higher than that. Let's see. Okay, now we get to the God plus stuff. I'm not gonna. We might come back later and do those. The non-canon guys over here. Let's do Ikari real quick. Honestly, I might put Ikari in D, because it's just base. Broly gets a little bit bigger muscles and is fighting the same Vegeta. Like, it's barely a form. Like, nothing really changes. He's just a little bit larger and fights a little bit harder. I think, unless I was missing something, but I never really got the point of why they even said he had Ikari at all. They could have just said, oh, his base is powering up and he's starting to fight more, and like so his body's like adapting or some shit. I don't know if they say he's using grade 8 power in base. Like at least grade 8 power actually changed like really fundamentally how he looked. I don't know. I guess he breaks his like neck restraint or whatever when he goes Ikari, but like who cares? It's not. Anyway, okay. Let's talk about the 3 Ultra Instinct forms. We have True Ultra Instinct, Ultra Instinct Sign, and Mastered Ultra Instinct. Where do they go, and what do I think about them? I think this is how you do a don't change the hair transformation better than Ultimate Gohan. So I'm gonna put Sign up here. Maybe again, I'm not really trying to rank in tiers, but I do like it more than Perfected Blue. I think I talk for everyone. I say that the design of the dark hair is better than the silver hair design for Mastered Ultra Instinct. And for Mastered Ultra Instinct, again, functionally these things are the same thing, right? This is just the sign of that this form is coming, right? But the problem is that they kind of popped off with this design more, so they can go next to each other, right? It's just that like this is the culmination of this form, but this form has a way more appealing design. And then this form, I think the problem is we haven't seen enough of it yet. It's obviously not done, and it only has like one fight against Gas, and then gets bodied by Frieza. And it's essentially this form, but in the manga, and technically stronger. So I don't know. No, I'm gonna keep this off the list, right? Because it's essentially this, but just with a different justification and essentially power level. I want to see more of this form before I can say like, oh, it's right, because right now it's like achievements are in the trash. Ultra Ego. I don't love the colors of this form. I think the aura could have been like pure black, and I think it would have been a lot cooler because I don't know, the bright purple. I also think the idea of like Vegeta it's a form. I like how it is an opposite of Ultra Instinct. How Ultra Instinct doesn't want to get hit and Ultra Ego wants to get hit, right? So it is literally the opposite. But the fact that all it does is make Vegeta stronger as he's getting hit, I think is really kind of stupid. Because like the idea that Saiyans get stronger as they fight already exists, right? And this is kind of just turning that logic into now a transformation instead. I still don't understand how it's connected to God of Destruction at all, because taking damage has never been a part of the God of Destruction kits. But I do think it's still a very unique transformation. But again, I think top of B is fine. And maybe we'll see more from it. But I think it's a concept that has already existed in the series. And it's kind of just weird how now Vegeta's fighting strategy is just take damage and then maybe win because he got strong enough to beat the opponent. Like, that doesn't make the fights very interesting because essentially you're just waiting to see if he passes out or if he is strong enough to defeat the opponent. And I think that doesn't make fights as fun or interesting. Beast Gohan. I really like the design, but what the hell do we even know about this form? Literally all we know about is that one line from Gohan saying he wants to achieve a form beyond Super Saiyan. But the aura is freaking amazing. The animation of this form is awesome. It's definitely above everything in C. The question is, I can't put this in A tier. I can't. These forms just have so much more going on for them than this one. So I'm going to just put it over Ultimate Gohan. Does not mean that it's below any of these, but it's definitely not, for me at least, above any of these. And then Broly. So this is just him at full power. It's a cool enough design. It's barely different than him as Super Saiyan. That's the problem. It's just that he's shirtless now. And like he looks cooler because now you can see like all the scars and shit, but I mean, it shows up so late into his fight with Gogeta, and then once he uses it, he's just getting the absolute crap kicked out of him in it. So I think there is fine. If you want to say the implications of like if we had seen it in superhero maybe like and it had done like maybe something cool, I would totally put it higher. But like it really doesn't. Like if Super Saiyan Broly on here was like treated as its own thing, I'd probably put it higher. Right, but that's not what we got in the series, right? If like he had gone into that green form immediately when turning Super Saiyan and actually did some stuff like beating up Goku and Vegeta with it, I'd probably put it way higher. But he doesn't. And so then these remaining guys, I mean, this is like an even worse version of this. Honestly, might go. This would go higher than this. Like this, I'm not gonna put non-canon form on here, but that would go like in B tier because there's like the foreshadowing of the legendary Super Saiyan, and then it actually does a lot of stuff. It beats the crap out of everybody. And then Super Saiyan 4. I'm not gonna put it on here, but I'll say where it goes. I I know a lot of people like this design, and it's very, very different than all the other designs. But I'm not a huge fan of it. It looks way better on Goku than it does on Vegeta. But the fact that it kind of just retreads how the original Super Saiyan worked, how it, like he becomes like a bit more aggressive and like an asshole, um, was kind of, I don't know, just it was just a retread for me, and I don't like the furry design really. I think the eyes are cool with like the eyeliner, but that it would go in B for me, personally. And again, the biggest problem with Super Saiyan 4 is that he's stuck in the story of GT, with the villains of GT, and the characters of GT, which severely I think holds it back for me personally. So there we go. That's my tier list. Again, maybe the tiers themselves are not necessarily ordered, but I think these are my opinions. So let me know how you disagree in the comments down below, and see ya.